60-game season, 7-inning doubleheaders, Blue Jays playing in America, some of the craziest rules and historical moments we've ever seen in Major League history. I mean, the 2020 MLB season was a fever dream. Some of the weirdest, most bizarre things to ever happen in the sport went down in the shortened season in a time where the world was in a crisis due to COVID-19 pandemic and things everywhere were upside down. Major League Baseball happened to sneak in a season. To a lot of people, it was forgettable. A lot of older and more casual fans didn't even watch the 2020 season, but to more hardcore fans like myself, the overall bizarre nature and nostalgia of that time is something I'll never forget. There was just something so comforting watching a baseball game with no fans. To a lot of people, this was strange, but to me, it was like comforting. Just watching the best players in the world go head to head in beautiful stadiums, empty with zero distractions, was something I found interesting. The energy of crowds, vibe, and ambiance they give to the game, and just being able to attend a game in the first place is definitely a luxury I'm not trying to belittle in the slightest. But at a time where it seemed the whole world was in distress, I think we all just needed some normalcy, even if it meant a simple sporting event. People seem to forget these players are real people with real lives and real responsibilities. I mean, players were literally opting out of the season, which for probably personal reasons I don't criticize in the slightest. Some notable ones were Buster Posey, David Price, Ryan Zimmerman, Marcus Stroman, and a washed Felix Hernandez. But out of all of these, the most interesting by a mile was the story of Yoenis Cespedes, who came back and helped the Mets win the first game of the season, hitting a late home run, and then literally went fucking missing. My Mets fans definitely remember this one for sure, and probably MLB fans in general, but the Mets were playing the Braves, and he was literally supposed to be DHing, I'm pretty sure that exact same day, when he just came up missing everywhere. It was headlines for a few hours until it came out that bro literally just opted out over contract issues. I mean, I'm such a nerd, I could literally go on for hours about interesting players that played that season and just came back from the dead. Like Yoenis Cespedes, Hunter Pence played that season, Brian Dozier, and the switch pitcher Pat Venditti was on the Marlins. I mean, it just all fits in with how random the year and especially the MLB season was. The Marlins, with their roster full of AAA players and DoorDash drivers, made the playoffs somehow. The Athletics won the division. Luke Voit was the home run leader in the AL, and pre-criminal stat padding Marcell Ozuna was raking in the NL. But out of all these players and incidents, my favorite story easily was Randy Arozarena in the COVID season. I'm not sure if anyone knows this story, but everyone today knows Randy Arozarena as the great player he is. But at the start of the 2020 season, Randy was stuck in a hotel room for weeks with COVID, doing hundreds of push-ups a day, eating only chicken and rice before he eventually had a legacy postseason and just came up short of winning it all. I mean, really, until that postseason, he really was a nobody after getting traded over from the Cardinals, and he made his debut really big time in the COVID season, and then the playoffs, I mean, he made his legacy. I feel like the cherry on top would really be if they won the World Series. I mean, that Game 4 was basically the Rays World Series. I think they forgot they had to win 2 more games after that. I mean, we almost didn't have a season in the first place. Some of the restrictions were so extreme, and I understand why, as I remember they were talking about the season being canceled at one point. Between the Marlins and the Cardinals' entire teams getting wiped out from COVID, they were so close to just canceling the season, and thank God they didn't. But I remember how stressed that made everyone, just like how Trump was going to ban TikTok. But taking a step back for a second, do you guys actually remember when TikTok was about to get banned in summer of 2020? Only real ones remember that. But some of these restrictions just led to weird things going on. I remember cases of the home team playing as the visitor in their own stadium and even getting walked off on, which is just so weird. I remember Ahmed Rosario hitting a walk-off on Aroldis Chapman in Yankee Stadium, which was just hilarious. And then the celebrations afterwards just looked like me celebrating in Wii Sports Baseball because the guys weren't supposed to touch each other. I never understood why they made the celebrations like that, even though they were all in the same dugout, sharing stuff, breathing on each other. I mean, it didn't make sense. Some other rules I actually was in favor was the 7-inning doubleheaders. You can call me a casual and hate on me all you want, but I actually think speeding up the games and making them a little shorter is actually a good idea. Not only does this make more action in a shorter time, but this is also going to appeal to all the people who don't watch baseball and draw some more attention for sure. The number one complaint I hear from people nowadays about baseball is that it's too long or it's too boring. And while I personally don't think that, for other people trying to get into the game, obviously that's going to be an issue. But during 2020, there was no better feeling than just seeing your team win the morning game and then plopping right back on the couch a couple hours later to watch the night game. Just watching the 2020 season stuck in your house without all the adult stress of life was something we'll never get back. If we thought the regular season was crazy, the playoffs was something else.
Between the Rays almost choking a 3-0 lead to the Astros in the ALCS, the Dodgers-Braves offensive war, and the Yankees-Rays ALDS with Michael Brasso, who for some reason got like 100 power versus lefties in every MLB The Show card because he homered off Chapman in that one game. It was absolutely wild. The Dodgers-Braves series was back and forth, and in Game 3, the Dodgers literally put up 11 runs in the first inning. And the Marlins played the Cubs and won both games and swept them. I mean, the fact that Marlins won a playoff series was crazy. I mean, they would go on to lose to the Braves in the next round, but it's crazy how the Marlins got that far with just a team that was plastered with just injuries, COVID, whatever. Now, one of the biggest debates from the 2020 season was, were the stats not official, but do you guys take them into consideration? It was a 60-game season, not only for the teams, but for all the players, and it was just very controversial, and it still is. Now, in my opinion, I don't want to invalidate the fact that Jose Abreu won MVP or the Dodgers won the World Series, but I think you have to take it with a massive grain of salt. If you just take a second to think, 60 games is not even a third of the real MLB season, and there's players who go on hot streaks, big slumps, in just a few of those games. I mean, you really got to look at the whole season to just get a grasp of how a player really did. If you take 90% of MLB seasons and you see the best team through 60 games, they didn't win the World Series. If you take the best player through 60 games, most likely they didn't win MVP. It's just in baseball, it is so small of a sample size, and you're going to always have the what if. I mean, what if there was another 120 games? Would the Dodgers win the World Series? Would have certain players won certain awards? I mean, you just don't know. Injuries are a factor, anything. Now, I know the Dodgers were like 43-17 or something crazy like that in 2020, but you really just got to think about the full season. One of their players could have gotten hurt, could have gone to a big slump, or the whole team could have lost chemistry. It happens all the time. I mean, look at my New York Mets. Every single year, first few months, we start out strong, and then we just absolutely sell it in the summer. I mean, we call it the June swoon for a reason. And again, I'm not totally invalidating the fact that the Dodgers won the World Series, but I think calling it a Mickey ring is not only funny, but somewhat true in a case. Some things I thought that were really corny that I know were still used for some sort of revenue during the season when there was no ticket sale was cardboard cutouts. I mean, you would see all over the stadium these stupid cutouts everywhere, and I mean, it was kind of goofy, but it was funny. But if you thought cardboard cutouts were bad, one of the broadcasting networks, I'm pretty sure it was Fox Sports, would literally use CGI fans in the crowd. I think from MLB The Show or something, but it would look so goofy. They would be glitching out half the time. I mean, it was kind of scary, actually. I don't know why they did that. The crowd noise, I think, was like from MLB The Show again or something weird like that, but it was super exaggerated. I mean, a player would literally foul tip a ball and they'd be going fucking ecstatic. I mean, they put that shit at like 1,000 decibels, like filling the whole stadium, bro. You could hear it from your living room. And then games in Philly, there would be fans that would line up outside the gate blasting air horns. I mean, that was so annoying too. I mean, it was kind of cool, but not when you're the opposing team. I mean, some fans took it to the next level. I remember an incident in Boston where the Yankees and Red Sox were playing when some dude climbed up near the Green Monster and started screaming and throwing shit onto the field. Like, I know you guys remember that. And eventually, just like the other sports, MLB started allowing fans in at limited capacity. I think at the NLCS it started, and from there on out it went. And I mean, I'm kind of an introvert, so I don't know why. I kind of liked it. It was weird, but like I said, it kind of a fever dream. But the number one thing I did love about the no fans, which I think everybody can agree on, was the sound of the ball off the bat. I mean, just hearing those MLB The Show perfect, like just clean contact was so satisfying. With absolutely no fans in the stands and huge high-tech microphones up close to the field, I mean, even foul ball sounded like heaven. But that wasn't the only thing you could hear. You could also hear players cursing constantly. After each strikeout, pop-up, ground out, you could hear players just screaming explicit things and announcers usually apologizing for it, which was hilarious. And speaking of announcers, we all know what happened when Nick Castellanos hit a deep drive to left field for a home run to make it a 4-0 ball game.
From the bottom of my heart, I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
There was just so many classic memes and jokes from that season. I mean, it was hilarious. But really, the 2020 season as MLB fans is something we could all just look back on and reminisce and take it for what it was. But that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I thank you all for the support we've been getting on the recent videos. I think 87% of the people watching my videos aren't subscribed, so make sure you drop a sub and like the video. The season is starting. Literally, as I record this, a spring training game starts tomorrow, and I could be more excited to start making daily recaps every day. And I will see you guys in the next one.